God's chosen ones. 7 spiritual symptoms before your final awakening. You feel off, like you're floating between worlds. You're not slipping the same. You don't enjoy what you used to. People are falling away. Your emotions swing like pendulums. And deep inside, something is whispering. This is not random. It's not anxiety. It's not exhaustion. It's sacred activation. These aren't symptoms of collapse. They are signs that your spirit is crossing the threshold into the final awakening. If you felt like time is bending, if you're waking up at 3:33, if your body is rejecting the old version of your life, this is not a breakdown. This is your metamorphosis. You're not losing yourself. You're becoming who you were born to be. Drop a 7 out of 7 in the comments if you've been feeling it too. This is not just content. This is confirmation. You're not crazy. You're chosen. Let's begin. Let your body knows before your mind does. There's a stage the world never warned you about. The one that comes right before your resurrection. It doesn't look like glory. It looks like confusion. Like your life is falling apart in slow motion. You wake up and nothing feels real. You look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. The people you thought would never leave, gone. The job, the path, the titles, none of it fits anymore. And in the silence, you whisper to no one, God, what's happening to me? But the truth is, something sacred is unfolding. You're not dying. You're being rewired. You're not lost. You're being relocated not just physically, but spiritually. This is the part where heaven moves through your body, where divine downloads come disguised as headaches, tight chests, blurry days, and emotional chaos. No one sees it. No one claps for it. But the final awakening, it begins here in the unraveling. If you've been crying for no reason, if food feels off, time feels warped, and people you once loved now feel toxic to your spirit, you're not broken. You're transitioning. And if you've made it this far, that's not weakness. That's proof of your anointing. God's chosen ones don't awaken gently. Their transformations are violent, sacred, cellular. Your old self is dissolving. Your soul is remembering. And these 7 spiritual symptoms you've been experiencing, they're not random. They are prophetic signs that you are crossing the spiritual threshold of no return. You're not who you used to be, and you never will be again. So if this message found you today, it's not an accident. It's a signal that your final awakening has already begun. Drop a 7 behind the 7 if this resonates in your spirit, and let's step into what's next. You're not crazy. You are chosen. Part 1. Time is breaking apart, and so are you, but not in the way you think. There comes a moment in your journey when clocks stop working not because they're broken, but because you are shifting. You sit for 5 minutes, but it feels like hours. You blink, and suddenly it's night, where the opposite hours vanish like mist and you can't account for where they went. You ask, am I tired? Am I distracted? But this isn't fatigue. This is spiritual distortion, and it's not random. It's your first sign that you're entering the final phase of awakening. The first crack in reality. The world tells you time is linear, but your soul remembers something different. It remembers eternity, and now that memory is waking up inside you. You begin to notice the dissonance. Days blur, weeks feel like years, conversations loop like déjà vu. You walk into a room and forget why. You stare into space and realize 10 minutes just disappeared. The old version of you would panic. The new you pauses. Because somewhere, deep in your spirit, a whisper says, this is not a glitch. This is a gateway, multi-dimensional perception. Your spirit is traveling. What you're feeling is not dysfunction, it's dissolution. Your energy is no longer anchored to 3D time. You are shifting from linear perception to multidimensional awareness. And like a butterfly shedding its cocoon, it feels disorienting. You may question your memory. You may forget what day it is, what you just said, or even where you were going. But underneath that confusion, your spirit is doing something extraordinary. You are slipping between timelines, past lives, soul memories, ancestral echoes, future visions. They're all becoming accessible in one moment. That's why you feel out of sync, because you're not living in one place anymore. You're between dimensions, and God is opening your eyes to eternity. Time is not breaking. You are breaking out. There's nothing wrong with you. The calendar didn't stop. The clock didn't malfunction. You did. Your old rhythm, the one that was forced, hurried, scheduled by systems and survival, can't contain you anymore. That rhythm belonged to the version of you that played small, that obeyed the metrics, that submitted to structures meant to keep you asleep.
That version of you?
It's gone. And now, your body, your senses, your soul are moving in heaven's time. What this looks like in real life, you might start experiencing random bursts of energy at 2 a.m., vivid dreams with past life symbols or people you've never met, a sense that something already happened or is about to. Difficulty explaining what day it feels like because none of them feel real. You may try to get it together, to reorganize your schedule, drink more coffee, make to-do lists, but nothing works because the tools of this world can't organize what God is doing in your spirit. Those downloads have begun. This distortion of time isn't punishment, it's preparation. In the moments where nothing makes sense, the visions come, sometimes while driving, sometimes while washing dishes, sometimes while simply staring at the sky. A sudden knowing, a sacred flash, a memory that doesn't belong to this life, but feels like home. These are not coincidences, they are downloads. Your spirit is being activated not just for awakening, but for assignment. God is unlocking information in your DNA that has been sealed for generations. What once seemed ordinary now feels divine. The way leaves move in the wind, the way numbers show up in patterns, the way silence speaks to you now. It's all changing because you are changing. You are the break in time. Here is the truth that shifts everything. You're not experiencing time distortion. You are the distortion. You are the break in time that heaven wrote into the earth. You are the one chosen to operate outside of artificial rhythms, to live by spiritual frequencies, to awaken others not by shouting, but by simply existing in alignment. You walk into a room and the atmosphere changes. People feel their illusions cracking. Not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. You are the interruption, the divine pause, the glitch in the matrix that makes people stop and remember. Breath moment. Breathe through the bending. If your days feel warped, breathe. If your energy surges at odd hours, breathe. If you feel like you're floating above your life, breathe. You're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not losing control. You are being recalibrated to your highest timeline. Don't fight the feeling. Don't force the schedule. Flow. God is bending time around you so that destiny can find you faster. What if you were never meant to live by the clock? What if the 9 to 5 was never your assignment? What if divine appointments can't be scheduled by planners or alarms? What if your delays were never delays? What if every moment that felt lost was really divine setup? You are not late. You are not behind. You are in sync with eternity. And eternity doesn't rush. So if time is breaking apart for you, rejoice. It means the veil is thinning. It means the awakening has already begun. It means your soul is stepping outside of history and into destiny. You're not falling behind. You're rising above. You're not collapsing. You're expanding. You're not lost in time. You are what God is using to interrupt it. Drop a 7 to 7 in the comments if time has felt strange lately. If this message pierced you, it was meant to. You're not broken. You are chosen. Part 2. When your body starts saying, no, it's not just burnout. It's breakthrough. She woke up again with that ache in her chest. Not a pain, not quite, just a pressure. Like something sacred inside her was pushing against the walls of her ribs, asking to be let out. The room was the same. The ceiling unchanged, but she wasn't. Her body didn't want coffee. Her stomach flipped at the thought of that meeting. Her hands trembled before opening another email that made her soul sigh before her eyes even read the words. She sat still, and in that stillness, something inside whispered, "This isn't tiredness. This is your body trying to save you." She used to think exhaustion meant weakness, that nausea was just anxiety, that skin breakouts were just stress. But lately, it felt different. The food she used to love now made her feel heavy. Crowded rooms. Her heartbeat raced. Small talk. Her throat tightened. She couldn't pretend anymore. Her body wouldn't let her. She tried pushing through the way she was taught. Slap on a smile. Dress up the outside. Perform the part. But her knees shook in the places where she used to feel strong. Her muscles ached after sitting still, and the whisper returned. You're not falling apart. You're shedding what was never meant to stay. No one explained this part of the awakening. That your spiritual evolution doesn't start with a halo. It starts with a headache in a place that no longer fits you. It starts when your nervous system refuses to keep attending meetings that drain your soul. When your gut clenches around people whose energy once felt familiar but now feels like static. The place you once called safe now feels tight. The job you once fought for now feels like a trap. Even your reflection looks confused, like it's waiting for you to catch up to who you are becoming. She kept asking herself, why am I so sensitive lately? And the answer came one morning, not through a preacher, not through a book, but through her own trembling hands. because your spirit has shifted, and now your body is trying to catch up. Your vessel, the skin and bones you live in, isn't just reacting. It's responding to the new frequency you've entered. You're becoming too aligned to fake it, too anointed to stay where dishonor lives, too awakened to keep digesting what poisons your peace. She started to notice patterns, that certain people made her tired after just 5 minutes, that her stomach would twist when she forced herself into rooms her soul had outgrown. That peace wasn't just an emotion, it was a biological necessity. And anxiety, not always trauma, sometimes just misalignment. Because your body doesn't lie. Your shoulders tighten when you betray your truth. Your heart races when you silence your intuition. Your bones ache when you settle. And what you once called burnout was really your body whispering, "This version of you is expired." She cried one night, curled in a ball on the floor, not because she was sick, but because she finally understood her body wasn't the enemy. It was the prophet. It was the only part of her that had been telling the truth the whole time. It knew. Before her mind accepted it, before her faith caught up, before her voice was brave enough to say it out loud, "I don't belong here anymore." That's when things began to shift. She stopped apologizing for resting. She stopped forcing herself into conversations that made her energy collapse. She began to listen to the way her chest relaxed around certain people, to the way her skin felt electric when she was walking in purpose, to the way her hunger changed, not just for food, but for meaning. Because when God begins to call you into alignment, your body becomes a tuning fork, and anything out of harmony begins to ring loud, sharp, painful, not to punish you, but to reroute you. So if you've been waking up tired, if certain people now make your stomach turn, if social events leave you with migraines and fog, if your favorite foods suddenly feel like poison, you're not cursed. You're not crazy. You're not broken. You're transitioning. You are being unplugged from an old world. A world that required your exhaustion, demanded your performance, fed on your silence. And now, God is tuning you to something higher. Your body knows it. Your soul knows it. Your cells are already singing a new song. Let them sing. Let the headaches come if they're purging what doesn't belong. Let your appetite change. Let your rest deepen. Let the old energy fall off you like a skin too tight to carry the next version of your calling. Because what you feel isn't weakness, it's prophecy. You're not just waking up tired. You're waking up transformed. This body, this temple, is preparing to house something bigger than you've ever carried. Don't rush the healing. Don't numb the signals. Don't force the performance. Let your body lead you home. So if your stomach tightens at that job, if your skin breaks out when you're around them, if your back aches every time you walk into that room, don't ignore it. Don't call it random. Don't fight it. That's your soul screaming through your skin. This is not for you anymore. You are not sick. You are shifting. You are not collapsing. You are clearing. The tension is not failure. It is a holy revolt. Your body is not betraying you. It's protecting the promise inside of you. If this pierced something in you, drop a 7 tabulas in the comments. This isn't just a video, this is your confirmation. You're not weak. You are chosen. And your body knows it. Part 3. Losing interest in the human game. You're not failing. You're detaching. She sat at her desk and stared at the screen. Deadlines blinked. Messages pinged. Everyone around her moved, like players on a game board, talking fast, rushing somewhere. And her soul whispered something terrifying. I don't care. It wasn't depression. It wasn't burnout. It was something deeper. She no longer wanted to win what everyone else was chasing. Once, she used to care. She cared about being liked. She cared about how her photos looked, how her words landed. She cared about keeping the conversation going, keeping the smile perfect, keeping the rhythm polite. But lately, it all felt like static. She scrolled through her phone and felt nothing. Another promotion, another couple, another perfectly filtered life. And all she wanted was silence, stillness, something real. She wasn't giving up. She was letting go of the mask, letting go of the chase, letting go of the version of herself that was built for approval, not truth. She couldn't laugh at fake jokes anymore. She couldn't force enthusiasm about things that used to excite her. She couldn't pretend that the game made sense because something had shifted. The veil had thinned. And once you see through it, you can't unsee it. She noticed how loud the world had become. The performance, the pretending, the way people wore exhaustion like a badge. She noticed how addicted people were to being seen, but terrified of being known. She noticed how everyone was chasing something likes, claps, status, but no one could sleep at night. And in that noticing, she felt herself exit the game, not by rebellion, but by revelation. It wasn't a dramatic exit, no grand announcement. She just stopped playing. She turned off the noise. She said less. She stopped trying to be interesting and chose to be honest. She didn't have the energy to be fake anymore. And in the stillness, something inside whispered, "You're not losing your drive. You're just losing your distractions." No one talks about this part of the awakening. The part where your soul gets bored of pretending, where your spirit begins to crave something deeper than dopamine. This is the moment of detachment, not because you're empty, but because you're finally full of what matters, and everything else feels like sand. She cried in the grocery store once, not because anything was wrong, but because she looked around and saw it clearly, painfully. Everyone was playing a part, smiling through broken marriages, competing in silence, buying things to feel alive, chasing success to hide the ache. She didn't judge them, she was them, until now. Until the silence inside of her became louder than the world outside. She no longer felt driven, but she felt drawn to slower mornings, drawn to questions without answers, drawn to truth, the kind that can't be posted, but oppressed. She used to fear being misunderstood. Now she feared being misaligned, and that changed everything. She started asking questions that scared people. Why do we keep doing this if it doesn't feel right? What would happen if I just stopped forcing it? Who am I without the applause? And then came the deeper one. Well, what if I've never really wanted the life I've been building? That question unraveled everything. She realized she wasn't lazy, she wasn't lost. She had just been chasing a reality that was never hers to begin with. She had been conforming to survive, succeeding in a system that kept her spiritually numb. And now her spirit had called her out of it. She walked away not from responsibility, but from pretending. She still worked, she still showed up, but she didn't fake it anymore. She only did what aligned. She only said yes to what resonated. And the more she walked in truth, the more peace replaced performance. If you've been feeling numb lately, if nothing excites you the way it used to, if you feel like you're watching life happen, but you're not in it, you're not broken, you're not failing, you're unplugging, your soul is exiting the illusion. And that process is holy. Let yourself leave. Leave the noise. Leave the performance. Leave the version of you that needed to be seen to feel safe. You're not here to impress. You're here to become, and becoming requires silence. You may not know where you're headed. That's okay. This part isn't about arrival. It's about awakening. Let your numbness speak. Let your silence teach. God is not punishing you. He's purging you of distractions, of validation addiction, of false purpose. You're not empty. You're clearing space for what's sacred. You're not losing your motivation. You're remembering your mission. You're not confused. You're becoming clear. You're not withdrawing. You're being reassigned. Let go of the game. Let go of the noise. Let go of the need to be anything but true. You're not broken. You are chosen. And this is the silence before your sacred re-entry. If this mirrored your current season, drop a 777 in the comments. Because this is not a breakdown. It's your spirit finally refusing to pretend. You're not quitting. You're awakening. You're not alone. You are chosen. Part 4. Emotions swing like pendulums. Your heart is being rewired by heaven. She was fine. And then she wasn't. She laughed at a meme, smiled at the sunlight. And 20 seconds later, she was crying in the bathroom. No reason, no trigger, no warning. She looked in the mirror, wiped her tears, and whispered, "What is happening to me?" No one told her that awakening would feel like this, like being torn open from the inside. Not by heartbreak, but by God's hands, remaking her heart. One moment she was hopeful, the next hollow. One day she wanted to change the world. The next, she didn't want to get out of bed. It was exhausting, embarrassing, unexplainable. But the worst part, she thought she was going backward. She had spent years becoming stable. She learned how to cope, how to heal, how to manage her feelings. But now, all the old wounds were resurfacing. All the buried memories, all the uncried tears. She was weeping over songs she hadn't heard since childhood, raging at things that didn't bother her yesterday, feeling waves of love, then loss, then rage all before noon. She didn't feel spiritual. She felt crazy. But that's when the whisper came. This is not regression. This is restoration. I am rewiring your heart. You see, the chosen ones don't awaken politely. God doesn't gently suggest change. He breaks us open with sacred intention. And when your heart is being rewired, your emotions will swing like a divine pendulum. Why? Because heaven is clearing out everything that doesn't belong in your new assignment. Tears are not weakness. They are cleansing codes. Rage is not sin. Its unspoken truth finally surfacing. Grief is not regression. It's your soul saying goodbye to what you no longer need. What looks like chaos is just spiritual surgery. The anesthesia is honesty, and the scalpel is sensitivity. Her sensitivity wasn't a flaw. It was her antenna. It allowed her to feel what others avoided, to sense what others ignored, to hold pain that wasn't hers and transform it into compassion. But now, God was tuning that sensitivity to a higher frequency, and the only way to do that was to let her emotions run raw. She stopped hiding her tears. She let them fall in grocery store aisles, in the shower, in the car at stoplights. And every time they did, something sacred washed through her. Not depression, deliverance. She stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking, "What is God pulling out of me? What did I bury so deep that he now wants to heal? What am I finally strong enough to feel?" And through every wave, he stayed. Through the sobbing, through the silence, through the hollow days where joy felt far away, God stayed, not judging her for feeling too much, but rejoicing that her heart was finally soft enough to feel again. Because that's the real rewiring, not perfection, but presence, the ability to feel deeply without being consumed, to cry fully without shame, to rage honestly without guilt, to grieve openly without needing permission. God doesn't need your control. He needs your truth. If you've been crying randomly, if you're snapping at nothing, then apologizing 5 minutes later, if your moods rise and fall like the tide, you're not emotionally unstable. You are emotionally honest. And that honesty is breaking every chain silence ever put on you. Here's what's really happening. Your emotional body is clearing residue from this life, from past lives, from ancestral lines you didn't even know you were carrying. This is soul detox. So let it rise. Let it move. Let it shake the walls of your chest and drip from your eyes. Your weeping is worship. Your silence is strength. Your emotional chaos, it is the collapse of every old lie you ever believed. And one day, very soon, you'll feel the shift. The swings will slow. The waves will settle. And where panic once lived, peace will stand. Because the truth is, your heart isn't breaking down. It's breaking open. Open to beauty. Open to clarity. Open to a frequency that only the healed can hold. So if today you cry over something small, if you feel waves of grief, rage, tenderness, or numbness, don't run. Don't shame yourself. Don't shut it down. This is healing. This is holy. Your heart is being rewired to carry what's coming, and it takes courage to feel this much. You're not too emotional. You're fully alive. This isn't instability. This is initiation. You're not broken. You are chosen. If this part of your journey has felt too heavy, drop a 711 in the comments. Let the world know you're not emotionally weak, you are spiritually brave. Your heart is not betraying you. It's becoming, and that is what makes you chosen. Part 5. People start falling away, you're not losing them. You're being realigned. She noticed it quietly. No arguments, no betrayal, no grand falling out. Silence. Texts stopped coming. Phone calls slowed. The invitations dried up. They didn't block her. They just forgot, or maybe heaven helped them forget. At first, she blamed herself. Was I too distant? Too intense? Too quiet? She replayed old conversations in her head, wondering if she'd said something wrong, or maybe failed to say enough. But the more she searched for a reason, the more peace whispered a sacred truth. You didn't push them away. I pulled you apart. You see, when God begins to realign your life, he does it gently, and then suddenly, people don't leave because they're evil. They leave because their assignment in your life is complete. They leave because your frequency shifted, because your soul outgrew the agreement, because your spirit began vibrating on a level their energy couldn't reach. And so they fade, not as punishment, but as protection. She tried to hold on for a while, tried to keep the conversations going, tried to rekindle the bond, tried to revive the expired. But every time she reached out, her spirit winced. Every time she said, "Let's catch up," her body whispered, "Why?" It wasn't judgment. It wasn't superiority. It was discernment. She wasn't better than them. She was just becoming different. And when you begin stepping into alignment, the weight of an authentic connection becomes unbearable. God was protecting her from spiritual imbalance, from staying yoked to people who didn't love the woman she was becoming. They loved the version of her who kept quiet, who played small, who dimmed her intuition. But now she had changed, and they couldn't go where she was headed. Some were friends from childhood. Some were family. Some were people she thought would be there forever. And when they left, it felt like mourning a death no one else could see. Because it's not just people you lose. It's the future you imagined with them. The versions of you that only existed in their company. Letting go of them felt like letting go of her old self. And that's exactly what it was. God doesn't always take people from your life. Sometimes He takes you from their lives, because keeping you in that room, in that relationship, in that rhythm, would kill what He's birthing in you. You cannot carry the weight of your purpose while dragging people who only liked the old you. She learned to stop begging for closure, because sometimes closure is the silence. Sometimes God's only explanation is they were part of your awakening, not your destiny. She stopped calling it loss and started calling it divine realignment. Loneliness came. Yes. Nights where she missed the laughter. Days when she reached for her phone but had no one to text. Holidays that felt hollow. But even in the ache, she knew she had not been abandoned. She had been set apart. And in the stillness where the old fell away, new began to arrive. People whose eyes didn't flinch at her depth. People who listened when her voice trembled with revelation. People who felt like home, not because of history, but because of alignment. These weren't surface connections. These were soul contracts. The kind that don't need proof, only presence. The kind that didn't come to take, but to reflect. If people are falling away from your life, if conversations feel shallow, strained, or empty, if the invitations have stopped coming, don't panic, don't beg, don't chase. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. God doesn't remove people to hurt you. He removes them to make space for peace, for a purpose, for people who will not just love your light, but protect it. So if they stop texting, let them. If they walked away without explanation, bless them. You are not being forgotten. You are being refined. You are not falling apart. You are being realigned. Grieve what needs grieving. Release what needs releasing, but don't shrink to fit a room God has already called you out of. You're not alone. You're on the verge of meeting your true soul tribe. The ones who won't ask you to dim. The ones who see your rising and say, I've been waiting for you. If this part of your story feels too quiet, if your phone is silent but your soul is loud, drop a 797 in the comments. Let heaven know. I'm ready for divine alignment, even if it costs me comfort. You're not losing them. You're being led. You're not alone. You are chosen. Part 6. Strange signs and messages. You're not losing it. You're being activated. She used to think it was coincidence. The clock would say 11. Then 2. Wuhan 2. Then 4. 44. At first, it felt cute, random, something to shrug off. But lately, it was relentless. Everywhere she looked, the numbers followed. In receipts, on billboards, glowing from the microwave at night. Then came the songs. That one song that played the exact moment she was about to give up. Lyrics that echoed her prayers, her fears, her secret questions. Then came the dreams, the chills, the sense that someone was watching, but not in fear, in love. And the whisper that used to be faint began to grow louder. This is not your imagination. You are being activated. You see, when the chosen ones near their final awakening, the language of the Spirit takes over, not with thunder, not with lightning, but with patterns, with symbols, with synchronicities that crack open the rational mind and awaken the soul's memory. She started feeling things. Before people spoke, before the news broke, before her phone buzzed, she'd think of someone and they'd call. She'd dream of a place and see it the next day. She'd feel chills mid-sentence even when the room was warm. It was like a voice behind the veil was saying, now you can hear us. The world called it weird. She called it confirmation. Because for the first time, she wasn't waiting for signs. She was becoming one. If you've been seeing repeating numbers, if you've felt divine nudges, prophetic dreams, mysterious chills, if songs, whispers, smells, or images hit your soul like a message you didn't expect but desperately needed, you are not crazy. You are being communicated with, not through English, but through the frequency of truth. The universe doesn't shout, it codes. And once your spiritual senses begin to awaken, you realize something stunning. God has been speaking your whole life. You just weren't tuned in until now. She remembered being a child, staring at clouds and feeling messages in the wind. She remembered imaginary friends that may not have been so imaginary. The dreams she used to have that later came true. The intuition she ignored for the approval of logic. But now, God was reactivating everything. You don't need a prophet. You are one. The veil is thin now. And those numbers, they're not decoration. They're activation codes. Each one carries a message. 111, stay aligned. New beginnings are forming. 222, peace is coming. Wait on God's timing. 3, you are divinely protected. The Trinity is guiding you. 4, the angels are near. Stability is being established. 5, a major shift is happening. Trust the change. 7, you're walking in the mystery. You are chosen. 888, abundance is being released. Prepare to receive. 9, it's time to close the chapter. Something new is being born. The chills you feel when you hear certain words, that's your spirit recognizing truth. The goosebumps, that's your spiritual DNA awakening. The dreams that feel more real than waking life, that's your soul remembering other dimensions, other timelines. You're not just awake, you're aware. You're not just seeing signs. You're learning to interpret heaven's language. It won't make sense to others. That's okay. It wasn't meant for them. These messages are sacred, tailored, delivered straight from God's realm to your receptive spirit. She no longer needed proof. She walked by frequency. If it felt heavy, she left. If it gave her peace, she stayed. She began noticing her body react before her brain did. Because once you're activated, you don't just see signs, you become aligned. So if your ears ring, if you see sparkles of light in the corner of your eyes, if you get chills when reading words like these, don't dismiss it. That is your clear sense waking up. That is your anointing activating. That is your higher self finally speaking louder than your fear. This is the part of the journey where logic can't take you. Only spirit can. You don't need to understand it. You only need to honor it. You are not imagining the signs. You are recognizing them. You are not being followed by coincidence. You are being led by divine design. God is not distant. He is now speaking through everything. License plates, songs in the grocery store, vivid dreams, chills when reading sacred truth. You don't need to beg for confirmation anymore. You are the confirmation. Drop a 434 or 77 in the comments if the signs have been overwhelming lately. If you've been receiving messages no one else sees, just know you are not alone. You're not crazy. You are chosen. And this is your activation. Part 7. A quiet knowing arrives. You can't explain it, but you know something's coming. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't a sign. It wasn't even a dream. It was just a feeling. Subtle, gentle, quiet but undeniable. Like a soft drum beat in her chest. Like the air changing before a storm. Like heaven was holding its breath. And deep inside her spirit, she knew something's coming. She couldn't name it. She couldn't plan for it. She couldn't explain it. But she felt it rising slowly, steadily like dawn behind her ribs. And no matter how much her mind tried to brush it off, her spirit wouldn't let go of it. She stopped craving the loud prophecies, the urgent signs, the fire from heaven moments. Because this time, the confirmation wasn't outside. It was inside. It didn't shout. It whispered, "Prepare." There was no reason to feel this expectant. Nothing in her life had changed. The money wasn't there. The answers hadn't come. The promises still looked far away. But her peace said otherwise. She wasn't panicking anymore. She wasn't forcing clarity. She wasn't begging for doors to open. She was just ready. And that readiness, that was the real sign. You see, when the final awakening begins to settle, you stop looking for miracles. You start becoming one. You walk through your day like someone waiting for a letter that's already been mailed. You can't track it. You can't speed it up, but you know it's coming because you can feel it in your bones. This is not delusion. This is divine awareness. God doesn't always announce breakthroughs with thunder. Sometimes he slips them into your spirit as a quiet knowing. And once that knowing lands, you can't go back to who you were. She stopped trying to explain herself, stopped trying to convince others of the shift, stopped trying to prove her progress. Because this kind of awakening is lonely. It's invisible. It's internal, and it doesn't need applause, just trust. She began walking differently, not with arrogance, but with assignment. Not with answers, but with assurance. And even when doubt knocked on her door, even when nothing looked like it was moving, she'd whisper, "I still believe something is unfolding. I still feel God shaping me. I still know it's coming." If you've been feeling it too, that holy anticipation, that quiet awareness that you're standing on the edge of something sacred, but you don't know what it is, or when it's coming, or how it'll change your life, that's not confusion. That's alignment. You don't need all the details. You just need to stay present. Keep breathing. Keep trusting the gentle rhythm of your heart. Because that quiet beat, that's the sound of your assignment approaching. She once needed signs. Now she just needs stillness. She once begged for proof. Now she lives by presence. And somehow, that presence is enough. So if nothing makes sense right now, but everything feels holy, if you wake up with that subtle ache in your spirit, if you feel like you're walking into something unnamed, but undeniable. You're not crazy. You're not lost. You're not behind. You are right on time. This is the part where faith becomes your compass, where peace becomes your map, where you stop chasing and start receiving. You're not waiting for life to begin. You are the life being awakened. You don't need a date. You don't need a plan. You just need to trust the knowing, that whisper in your spirit. It's not wishful thinking. It's prophetic timing. Stay close to the stillness. Stay open to the shift. Stay grounded in your peace, because the thing you can't name yet is the thing heaven already wrote for you, and it's closer than you think. Drop a 7 in the comments if you've been carrying that quiet, unshakable knowing lately. No one else may understand it, but you don't need them to. You're not waiting for proof. You are the proof. You're not crazy. You are chosen. And this is the final breath before the breakthrough. You're not breaking down. You're becoming who God always knew you were. If you made it here, through the confusion, through the fatigue, through the timeline distortions, the tears, the silence, the letting go, then I need to tell you something. Clearly, gently, prophetically, you are not crazy. You are chosen. This journey wasn't designed to make sense. It was designed to wake you up, because the final awakening isn't something that happens to you overnight. It's not fireworks. It's not lights in the sky. It's slow, sacred, violent, holy. It strips. It rewires. It pulls you out of every version of yourself that was built for survival and calls you into the version of you that was born for revival. You lost your taste for the world because your spirit started remembering heaven. You lost people because your new frequency no longer entertains the old alignment. You wept for no reason because your heart was finally being felt. You saw signs everywhere because your eyes were finally open. And now you're standing in a space no one taught you how to navigate. The space between who you were and who you're becoming. This space is sacred. This space is the chrysalis, where the old dissolves and the divine emerges. It's where your spiritual gifts start to sharpen, where your emotions become revelation, where silence becomes instruction, where everything you thought you wanted becomes optional. And all you long for now is alignment. You don't want the stage. You want the truth. You don't want the noise. You want the voice of God. You don't want to impress. You want to obey. That is the shift. That is the proof. That is the awakening. You've been stripped, but you're not empty. You've been quieted, but you're not silent. You've been misunderstood, but you're not alone. You are a vessel now, clean, raw, ready? And what comes next will not be earned. It will be revealed. If you're still here, reading this, feeling the tremble in your chest as if heaven itself is calling your name, then yes, this message was for you. And yes, this is your sign. Let the confusion fade. Let the ache settle. Let the silence sing to you. Because you didn't come this far just to collapse. You came this far to be resurrected. You're not late. You're not lost. You're not too much. You are becoming the version of you that God whispered into existence before the world ever lied to you. So rest. Trust the symptoms. Trust the sign. They were never setbacks. They were instructions. You're not breaking down. You're becoming. Drop a 7 if you feel this is your confirmation. You're not just healing. You're activating. You are seen. You are held. You are chosen. And heaven is moving through you.